Well, for more on this story, we can bring in our international affairs commentator, Douglas Herbert, who's with me now in the studio. Doug, these protests are now over a month old, but the backbone to them is actually a set of deep-seated grievances.
Deep-seated grievances across society, which we could actually show people. You know, we keep talking about it. It started with a protest over tax reform. The conservative president had wanted to sort of try to mitigate the economic crisis by making, you know, more tax revenue come in, which would have hit the working and middle class hard. But it really has given rise to a real wellspring of grievances that have been going on really since protests back in 2019. This is just the latest iteration of those old protests. But we see demands for basic lifting of poverty, abolishing poverty, getting the society more equal. Basic universal income, as you can see on the screen, is one of the roads to that from the protesters' views. More opportunities for young people. Unemployment is rising very quickly. The inequalities in healthcare, lack of access to better healthcare, better educational opportunities all lead to that lack of opportunity on a broader level. Police reform and police violence has become a major catalyst in these demonstrations. There's a sense among the protesters that especially what's called this anti-disturbance riot police squad, it's called the SMAD in the local acronym, that they really want to do away with that. They want the disbanding of these riot police and broader police reforms. So these grievances are really in a society which is already one of the most unequal in the world and where things have been getting worse, partly because of COVID. More than 3.5 million estimated people have fallen into poverty during this crisis, adding to what were already real woes, economic woes for a vast segment of this society.
And Doug, as I was saying a few moments ago, on Sunday we saw this big protest in Bogota with certain Colombians saying, actually, do you know what? Enough is enough. These protests should end now.
Yeah, sure. The entire country is not protesting in the street. That is true. There is a segment of society, pro-governmental protests, and they are not also all of a single mind. What are they protesting? They want an end to what they see as the violence in the protests. They want an end to the roadblocks. Protesters have erected barricades, roadblocks, which have obstructed access, the arteries to Maine, to the big cities in the country. Also often hampering the delivery of food items, basic foodstuffs, fuels, medicines. This has exacerbated the problem a lot. And a lot of these people support the police and the security forces. They say that, you know, some of the police, not all the police in the country are corrupt, and some of the police are trying to do their job. And look, we've heard this before with other police, not just in Colombia, right? There's always a segment of the police force which are not corrupt, which are trying to do their jobs. But the focus for the protesters has been on what they see as an disproportionately large segment of the police, which seems to have taken aboard the narrative of the government, which is that something about the protesters is not right, that the protesters are basically a bunch of radical left-wing anarchists, partly infiltrated by these left-wing rebel groups, some of whom were not happy with the deal struck with the FARC rebels back in 2016, who have an agenda and at times a violent agenda. They say that the police have taken aboard that narrative and that they are in turn hostile towards the protesters.
But Doug, one of the catalysts that's keeping people on the streets is, though, the high levels of police brutality.
Yeah, and the police brutality, it has been caught on video and cameras and iPhones and so on and so forth. Instances where police are not just using tear gas, not just using rubber billets, but actually reports of live ammunition being fired at times by protesters. In one case, a video capturing a protester who appeared to be running away from police and was shot in the back of the head. These are the types of incidents which are drawing a lot of attention. It's part of the reason why the UN Human Rights Commissioner wants a full and transparent and independent investigation, and that the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights is negotiating to get access into the country to observe exactly what is going on, to monitor it and to report on it. So watch this space right now, because the government has been resistant. Even though they say they are talking to the human rights monitors, they want to provide access, but there really is a lot of tension right now and a lot of tug of war between the government, who thinks the police are just trying to do their jobs, and the protesters who say that they are on the receiving end of a disproportionate, brutal use of violence, often lethal violence, by the security forces.
Okay, Douglas Herbert, thank you very much.